Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of art, I'm Todd Pearson, and coming to you from the Road of Enchantment, it's my dear friend, my partner, the other half of this thing we call Tenet. You know him as quite possibly the most interesting man in the world, the one and only Wes Brown.
Oh, Todd, it's another week, another 2 weeks. This is all goofing me up. We need to go back to a weekly. But anyway, it's good to see you, my friend. Holy smokes.
Yeah, man. Hey, we conversed earlier today, but I forgot to ask you, did you make it to Clark, South Dakota for the Potato Days mashed potato wrestling?
They wouldn't let me enter.
What?
Yeah, they wouldn't let me enter. I drove all the way to Clark and they're like, nope, dude, we've heard your podcast. You're not entering this year. You're banned for a year. Come back next year.
I think you're telling stories.
Aren't we always? That we were always telling stories.
I'm being real. And here
I didn't make it
in
to
this
Clark.
direct.
No, I didn't make it to Clark.
How do you feel about overseas travel, Wes?
How do I feel? I love overseas travel. I just hate flying.
So I've been thinking about you, and there is a competition in China that I think you might be interested in. It's a bee wearing competition. So the person, like everybody stands around, and whoever can wear the most bees wins. So you should look it up. I think you might be interested. It doesn't take a lot of physical agility. However, it does take a little bit of, nerve and competitiveness, which I know that you have.
Yes.
So I just thought, sorry to interject. I just didn't want to forget to tell you about this contest.
So this is in China?
In China, apparently. Yeah. I have done some research. I've been thinking, what is the right thing for Wes Brown to do next?
Nice.
China,
well, we'll definitely look into it. And
I think you could wear more bees than the Chinamen. I do.
Ooh,
you got more surface to cover.
I got a lot of surface to cover. Wow. She hasn't even seen me from the waist down.
Damn.
I'm just saying, you look taller than these guys, and I think you could win.
There we go. That's right.
Oh, my
all 5'8" of me. That's awesome.
You're still taller than them. Trust me.
So I just realized something. So we're talking about mashed potato wrestling again.
Yes,
and last time we had Christy on, we talked about gravy, your experience at the World Gravy Wrestling Championship.
That's right.
Mashed potatoes and gravy. They go together.
Yeah, man.
They do. I'm making a move to have those two events brought together. And
you need to just have your own event.
There we go. Oh, quite possibly the most interesting event in the world event.
We'll host you at Next Gallery. You can come in. We'll just cover everything in saran wrap.
Mashed potatoes and a little bit of corn on the side.
There you go.
Or coleslaw would be good too. Ooh, coleslaw. I wonder
good.
if KFC would sponsor it with a big vat of coleslaw that we could wrestle in.
No. You need to get some Popeyes chicken. None of that KFC. Come on now.
Oh, but KFC makes the best coleslaw, I think, in the world. Some of the best coleslaw. Yeah.
I love KFC coleslaw.
Oh my God.
I got to say.
I don't know about that.
And by the way, this podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Fried Chicken. Best coleslaw in the world.
I wish I had a drumstick right now.
I wish you did too.
Oh, if we do this event, you got to put together do you have your outfit put together?
I don't, but we would make one special for quite possibly the most interesting competition in the world.
A giant onesie.
Oh.
Okay. I usually go for as you probably have heard, I usually go for the Speedo, but
yeah.
And what did you call that? What does the sumos wear? Maybe I'll switch to that from now on.
What do they call that?
Oh, I don't remember
the word. Anyway. Yeah.
I can Google that, but I
think that's perfect for the bee wearing thing though.
No, right?
Yeah. Lots of skin.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll look into that. That sounds great.
Have you seen that Avedon portrait where that dude is like wearing all those bees? That's like iconic, man.
And I think he had alopecia, by the way.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And that's why when I see him with alopecia and then I see Jada Pinkett Smith, I don't think she has alopecia. But, that's for another time.
I'm a hairstylist, and I think she probably does.
Okay, good.
But, people should not be rude to other people.
No, I don't No, and I wasn't being rude. I was just
punch
comparing.
them in the face. See, that's why I did a Zoom meeting. I wasn't sure about you guys. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen here. Zoom meeting is the safest way to meet up.
It's safe for sure.
Safe. Nobody can punch you.
Oh, right? I'm not into punching anybody. Todd
Me
knows
either.
that.
No,
he's a grappler. He's a jiu-jitsu guy.
I'll put a wrist lock on you.
Yeah,
quicker. And
he just wrestles people to the ground.
Down low at the knees.
Chokes them out.
Yeah,
I'll make you submit.
Okay. I don't know
what
what
to alone too.
Shall we?
We shall.
Okay.
I think we've already started.
I know. I definitely think we started, but I do need to make an announcement. And I just want to say it's good to see you.
It's good to see you, my friend.
Do you know, I was thinking about earlier today that this is like probably the longest span of time that we haven't physically seen each other since we started the podcast.
I know.
The last time we saw each other was in January. Can you believe that?
I know. That's crazy, isn't it? Has it been since January?
Yeah, the end of January when we had that.
And it's show August now?
At Valkyrie.
Man. Okay. Well.
But that's about to change. You know why?
Why? Tell us, Todd.
Because art and ag. Yeah. Are you excited?
Our big event?
Our big event.
We live down the street from that. We intend to go for sure.
Well, you better be there. I'll be disappointed otherwise. So we want to remind everybody about this event that's happening in September. Fleischer Family Farm, in conjunction with the Tenant Podcast, present a one-day art event, Art and Ag. It's Saturday, September 10th from 10 to 5. Come on out to the farm located at 2005 South Zephyr Court, Lakewood, Colorado, 80227 in the Southern Gables neighborhood, and experience this local organic farm. Buy some farm fresh produce, check out beautiful art, and support local artists. Check out our social media for more details. And in the meantime, check out the Fleischer Family Farm website at fleischerfamilyfarm.com. And you can follow them on Facebook at the Fleischer Family Farm if you want to see all that they offer during their Saturday market. All right, let's get this thing on the road. Finally, Wes Brown.
Let's do it. Art talk.
You got art talk. Let's get our art on.
Let's do it.
Our next guest, if you don't already recognize her voice, is a prolific and spectacular mixed media artist and no stranger to the podcast. She was last with us back in March talking about Next Gallery. That was episode 118, if you want to check that out. And welcome to the program, our good friend, Christy Lynne Seving. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. We love having you on. It's always fun when you're on.
It is a lot of fun.
It is.
You guys are fun. I wouldn't spend an hour and a half with you if it wasn't fun. I'm telling you right now.
Right. Well, I think because you have the go juice tonight, that's probably helping the situation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're getting the
that's
right
true.
mindset.
I'm not going to come into this sober. That's for sure. Nobody would recognize me. They'd be like, "Who is she?"
Every time I see you, you're always sober.
No, I'm not.
Huh? What?
No.
Well, then you're really professional because I never get that sense.
Thank you. If you saw me sober, you'd be like, "What's happening?" I'm just kidding.
Really? It's like a whole different person?
Yeah, you need a couple of glasses of wine to ease into an evening of art at the gallery. Just social lubricant.
There you go.
There you go.
I like that. Mm-hmm. Social lubricant. I'm always in favor of social lubricant.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, Todd, I just have to tell you this. Right before the podcast, I had to take a couple of drops of CBD oil. Hey,
what? You're on the CBD?
Yeah, I am on the CBD, I guess.
What is going on?
Yeah, I know.
Are we in like a time warp or what?
God. So
May
there you
I
go.
ask, what are you using it for? This personal question.
I got some neck and carpal tunnel, but it goes up to my neck and it really jacks up my shoulder. And I knew I was going to be on this thing for 3-4 hours tonight. So I was like, I better get lubed up. So CBD oil, a couple drops. I'm ready to rock and roll, baby.
Good. I'm resisting any jokes about your. I'm just gonna.
You don't resist. Just go.
No, let that one slide right by.
Oh my God. Anyway, so there you go, Todd.
Let's tell people about where they can check out your work real quick. So Christy has a new website for your viewing enjoyment.
It's in the works.
Website.
Don't have
No. I'm selling it hard. I'm selling it hard.
It's full blown ready now.
It's the best freaking website, art website that you've ever experienced.
No,
easy navigation, beautiful photos. You can check out and see what Christy actually looks like instead of just hearing her lovely voice. It's got everything going on.
Great artist statements.
That I'm not sure about all of that, but I mean, I've been as I've heard many artists say that like the business of making art and the business of promoting art are something entirely different. And I had a website years ago, and my name changed. I got a divorce, so my name changed, and it just wasn't well presented, and I just sort of burned it down. And I said, I'm going to start over. I went back to my maiden name. And so I've been meaning to do this for a long, long time, and I just really started building it. So please, I mean, it's more of a portfolio right now, but it at least is a place where, it's in the works. So, not that great yet, but hopefully one day.
It's a fantastic site. I was just there last night, and you got to go.
I agree.
I'm going to work on it.
We got to work on your sales pitch. All right. I just got to say that up front. I'm going to be truthful with you. Work on the sales pitch. But in the interim, it is a great website. By the time this airs, it's going to be even better. It's going to be spectacular. So go check it out. It's ChristyLynneSeving.com. And that's ChristyLynneSeving. Almost rhymes. And you can find her on Instagram at Christy Lynne Seving. So there you go, folks. Go check it out. Let's start off talking about what you do. So you describe yourself as a mixed media artist. Talk about what that means to you and what kind of work you do, at least thus far.
Okay. So honestly, mixed media artist leaves me open to explore all avenues of art. And that's one of the things I try to do. When I create something, I'm always trying to figure out what new tool I can put in my toolbox as far as what technique I can learn or what I can do. So I get sort of bored with I've just created a whole body of work that I absolutely love and I'm proud of, but my next body of work will not look like that. So the reason I'm a mixed media artist is it gives me the opportunity to keep building my skills and materials and not be I don't want to be known as an oil painter or just not the oil. People are amazing at oil painting and they do so well with it. But I think moving through materials helps me not get bored or tired. The learning piece really keeps me engaged with my process.
Do you have a little ADD?
Non-diagnosed ADD. But yeah, when I was a kid at school, I could just visualize myself looking at the clock and it was like tick, tick, tick. It was just, and I was drawing on my notebook and doodling and doing this and that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's sort of it has been a challenge for me in ways, but also my superpower in other ways. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So how's it your superpower?
I think because I am not able to commit to anything like creative direction necessarily, it helps me to build my skills and it helps me to learn and it makes me curious. And curiosity is probably the thing that drives me, just like, what can I do next? What can I learn next? Oh, what is this? What is this? What is this? And then, as I've gotten older and I've been self-employed for years, it's just having the discipline to use those things and channel that into creating work and also building cohesive bodies of work.
So would you say your work is kind of self-biographical, and is it cathartic?
Absolutely. In different ways. And yep, it definitely could look and see it at different times in my life. And I've been doing this since I was a kid, like everybody says, but professionally, probably for the last 12 years. And you could definitely see what I was going through during that time period based on what I was creating and materials, but also thematically.
This is one of the things that I love about what you do as an artist. I love seeing that exploration, that you're always pushing yourself into a different realm and exploring something new. It's fine to see a body of work, but when you see the same thing over and over again, it's kind of like, I've seen that before, it's just,
for my brain, I just start just moving through it, even like on social media or in a gallery. If I've seen work before, I'll just be like, okay, been there, done that. And then maybe that's my ADD brain, but it's just like, if I've seen it before and it looks super similar to what I've seen before. So it's not that there are threads that definitely move through my work as far as what I do, but I really want to surprise people. I really want people to say, wow, you did this. And they can see, like, I want there definitely to be a signature of my style in it. But if I surprise people and say, I didn't even recognize your work, it's sort of a compliment to me at times.
I think looking at your work, it's always very different. It's always like top notch, I think.
No,
but I think I could pick it out. Maybe just because it's at the same, usually when I see it, it's at the same venue. Maybe it'd be different if I saw it in a different gallery outside of Next. But I can almost guarantee that if I look in there and, you have a piece or two in the community gallery, or you had a show and I didn't know it was you, I think I would guess it was yours. That there is that common thread that runs through your work.
I think so. And, especially because, like, one of the things I love about being part of a gallery is that push to do the solo exhibition every year. And the solo exhibition, like, for me, I really strive to, like, in spite of my crazy, like, all over the placeness, I strive to say, okay, this is the direction I'm headed in. And even though that direction can change and evolve, maybe what I began with is not what I intended necessarily. I still think that once I've kind of committed to an idea that at least this body of work I've really committed to the idea that it's going to work together. And like, these different things that I make will be an expression of sort of the same feeling or idea or theme. And I've done that in different ways. And each year it can come from different directions, but it's something that is a little bit obsessive, like, once I get a direction, I'm just kind of like obsessive. And then once I'm done with it, I move on to something different.
So how would you describe your current body of work, and how is it different from what you previously have done?
So my current body of work, for years, I've been like a mixed media artist. And one of the skills that I wanted to pick up was encaustic wax medium, and how to work encaustic wax medium and with oil painting into what I already do. And I'm a taught artist. So, there are all these different ways that you can learn how to pick up a skill. But in the last few years, I've actually learned to ask for help, and so because I have this amazing network of artists who are my friends, when I need something, like I'm building a website, and I'm like, I clearly am not a web designer. I need a little help fine tuning this. I have a friend who is amazing at that. So I'm like, I need your help. And I will pay that friend to sit down with me for 3 hours and teach it to me. I don't want it done for me. I want to be taught. So, but in the case of this particular show, my friend Charlie Walter, who is a former Next member, is a brilliant encaustic artist and is now shifted more to cold wax. But I just asked him, he's a gentleman. I don't want to say how old he is, but he's retired and he's great. And so I said, can I come and sit with you in your studio, or work with you in your studio for an afternoon or morning actually? And can you teach me how to do this? And he was actually excited to do it. So I would say it was in the fall of last year that I went to his studio, and we worked for hours on just basic skills, like show me the basics of how to use encaustic wax, which he did, and he did it amazingly. And then he and his wife, Maya, and I brought lunch, and we sat down and had lunch. We had a really nice day. But there's something really, really lovely about having somebody hands-on teach you something. And I'm so tactile. And so just say, okay, show me this, and then I want to do it. And once I do it, show me if I'm doing it correctly or what I can improve on. And so that's just process. But for this show, I think that was one of the tools I wanted to put in my toolbox. So I took things that I was already doing, like some of the bases of the work are paintings, and there are definitely elements of the same work that I've done before, but I really wanted to shift gears and do a wax show. So what started with encaustic wax, I also shifted into some cold wax because they complement each other. And collage and mixed media and a little bit of assemblage and things that work together. So this show is a total complete for me, because this work, I've actually put up a couple of pieces since I've been learning this technique, and I'm by no means an absolute expert, but I think that what I've done is learned how to utilize this skill and put it in my box of tools.
So is working with cold wax different than working with, I guess, hot wax, beeswax, encaustic?
Yes. So
what's the main difference there?
Encaustic wax is a combination of beeswax and damar resin. And there are two different ways. I mean, there are multiple different ways you can do this. One way is they make a medium that's just ready to be heated. And you heat this wax. I can't remember the exact temperature at the moment, but it's just under like 200 degrees. So you can use a warmer and heat that medium. But what I've learned to do is combine the damar resin, which comes in almost this crystallized form. You can actually just see it and smell it. It smells like tree sap. And you can crush it, and you can combine it with the beeswax and make it into this medium in a certain ratio. And there are kind of like different recipes. Everybody has their recipe that works really well for them. So when you combine these together, it makes a soup, like a very smooth wax medium that you can be applied to so many different surfaces. And in this show, I've experimented on what type of surfaces can be used. And traditionally, it's applied to like maybe wood, because stable surfaces are probably the most safe way to do it. Because like when you have a canvas, which I have used in this show because I like to break the rules, but canvas has the ability to flex. So when you flex, the thing can crack.
Sure.
So there's just so many different ways that you can use this. You can collage with it. You can actually paint with it. You can color it. You can layer it in multiple different ways. So I've always known and have been told that this would be something that would be a good thing for me to learn and would complement my work. And I really think it has. And so this show is partly that. And then the cold wax, to answer your question, I use a pre-made Gamble cold wax medium. And when you use cold wax medium, it's mixed 50-50 with oil paint. And so the thing that cold wax does to oil paint is it changes the finish. Like oil paint is very shiny. So it changes it to being a more matte finish. But it also changes the drying time. And that's huge for me because I work fast. So when you change the drying time of oil paint, it means that I can go on and structure something or put something together. And then 2 hours or very quickly later, I can go back and continue to work on a piece. And when I'm kind of obsessed with something, it's hard for me to walk away. So if you don't stop when it's not in the state where it's still moving with any type of oil paint or cold wax or anything like that, you can make mud. Basically you can overwork it. And that's something that probably when I was a more immature artist, less experienced, I would have done. And so it makes it so that I can actually work faster. And you can take the encaustic wax, which has a really shiny finish, like the thing that you can do with encaustic wax. And I didn't mention this, but once you put it down, you torch it in thin layers and layer after layer after layer. And I know you guys have interviewed encaustic artists. But the thing that cold wax does is it takes this shiny finish, and then you can add elements of a more matte finish. And it creates this strange cushion between the different sheens. And it's interesting to me. And so that's something that I've done a lot of for this show. Long answer. Sorry.
No, that's
that
great.
was a great answer. Yeah. I think Wes and I are both fascinated by the whole process. So
me too. And I love process. I mean, like my last show, the show before this, I got obsessed with burning. So I did wood burning, and I did Lichtenberg burning and smoke, all these paper burning. I mean, I was obsessed with burning, and maybe it's a natural progression that I would go to burning something else. I'm a pyromaniac, apparently. It's one of my mental diagnoses, apparently.
So since we're talking about this show, tell folks when it happens and what you're calling it.
Okay. The show is called The Matter of Perspective. And when I started this process, intuitively, I just started making pieces. And especially, I tend to do this a lot. I make things, and then I just start to see what comes out. And what started coming out is these geometric shapes, lines and circles and geometric shapes. And I started just seeing this pattern that was happening. And then what I realized is that these pieces that I were making was almost a similar aesthetic and similar scene seen from different angles. So like if you look at, like, one is a very close-up angle, and there's a lot of like spheres and suns or moons or what have you. And it's abstract, so it can be whatever it is. So I'm trying not to tell people what it is, because it's a matter of perspective. So I'm trying to introduce this idea that abstract art, not introduce, but play on this idea that abstract art gives you the ability to have your own separate opinion about what something appears to be. And how we look at things is influenced by all of these different things. It's influenced by like just physiological things about our eyes, how well we see, how we see color, our vantage point, where we are in the room, or where we are in not just a room, but in an open space. How far away are we? How close are we? Are we looking up? Are we looking down? And then when you look at it from more of a different perspective, you could see it like how we see things is influenced by the people around us and how they see things. Who are the people around us and what are their beliefs? What did they say about the thing and what it is? And that changes what we think about it, like our influences of who we're spending time with and the people around us. But also then if you look at it, we're influenced by our experiences and like our positive and negative experiences and trauma and what happens to us. So it's kind of the idea, like in a way, like we could look at the same exact thing, whether it was a very concrete physical object or whether it was an event that happens. And each of us has a different perspective on what happens. And in a way, it's like part of why I feel like I'm moving toward this is because it seems like things have been so polarized in the past, like couple years, forever, but especially lately. And it's like how we can be so judgmental of people's perception. And we don't always account for all the different varying things that change how you see something versus how I see something. And can we have space for people to see things differently and have different viewpoints, have different viewpoints based on all of these factors? And so that's kind of what it's made me feel. But to be honest with you, I don't sit down and say, I'm going to create a body of work about this specific thing and exactly how it is. I go about sometimes creating a body of work, and then I spend time with it. And I'm like, what does this mean to me? Meditate on it. How do I feel about it? And give it titles and kind of research those titles. And so in this particular case, not always, but in this particular case, I went about making a body of work primarily from an intuitive perspective in the beginning. And then I came back around and said, what does this all mean? And sometimes it's like shoehorning, like I'm going to make this really like cerebral answer to what it's about. But for me, it's about trying to be really honest and say, why do I think I did this? And am I reaching into my psyche to try to find an answer? Fuck yeah. I mean, absolutely. But that's my answer. And what I love about any art, but particularly abstract art, is there is no wrong answer. You know, like someone says, what is this? And I say, what do you see? Here's kind of what I see, but what do you see? And the answers that I get to that question, what do you see, are almost more fascinating to me than what I see. I'm really interested in like what other people see and their perspective. And I think that just comes from being fascinated with humans and their behavior. And that's always been a big driving force for how I look at the world and what I'm interested in.
That was beautiful. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Now, this body of work, as far as process, because, you know, I noticed in looking at the different shows that you've had, the different bodies of work, that there's always a theme. Is this kind of the part of the process always where you kind of make some work and then meditate on it? Or is it different every single time out?
It's different every time. When I'm making a show, I think the thing that I allow myself to do, and it's a little bit terrifying sometimes because I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And my brain keeps saying, you have to think it up. You have to figure it out. You have to plan it. And inevitably, it will be some curious thing that happens, some curious event. Like I bump into my friend Charlie and I'm like, dang, I really want to learn encaustic work. And that is the reason I start creating encaustic work. And this medium leads me to this certain type of thing that I'm doing. And as I'm doing it, I focus and think about what are the thoughts in my head about this, but not always. I mean, like, my last show was very process oriented, but then it had a lot to do with like burning and fire. And it really brought me to a catharsis, a place of loss, like after like the pandemic and what people have gone through and sort of how, that show was called The Art of Letting Go. And so to sort of like, how do we deal with the horrific harshness of this world? Like, and many times it's just by accepting what is. And so there's usually some kind of spiritual or maybe just kind of like process of maturing as a human being that I'm going through that influences my work. But during the pandemic in 2020, I did a show. It was called Asking a Shadow to Dance. And that show was, I was just in a painting phase. And the reason I was in a painting phase is like mostly acrylic painting phase. And we had recently moved into a house and all of my art supplies were just everywhere. And I was a little overwhelmed and I said, what can I do? And I thought I can paint. So that show, I decided I just was feeling very emotional about everything that was going on. So I decided I would collaborate with I would collaborate with poets. And so I made a few pieces and poetry just kept coming to me. And I adore poetry, adore it. So as I was making these pieces, I started reaching out to my friends who are poets that I know are poets and saying, some of them that I knew, some of them that I found and asked, will you collaborate with me on this? But what we did on that one is I had paintings in progress that I said, will you write a poem about this? And then there were some of these poets that I said, will you, if you write a poem, can I paint a painting based on your poem? And then at the end of it, I had an exhibition that had all this poetry on the wall, and I posted it, or I put it in print, and it was type print. It looked very much like it had been typed. Some of them had been typed, but unfortunately, this was supposed to open in April 2020. As things happen, it got closed. It got closed because our gallery was closed, like so many. And next gallery, we found safe ways to start back up and start our practice again, where we could mask up and sanitize and do all these things. So I think we got back in business quicker than some. But I found out that 3 weeks, like maybe 2 weeks before my show, that it wasn't going to go on, and it was pretty upsetting. But I just said, well, like, that's just part of it. That's part of what's going on. And if I'm really being authentic with how I feel about this, is it will happen when it should. So I just said, it's canceled. I'll let everybody know when it's going to actually happen. And then, so months later, a friend of mine who you all know, Adrienne Delow, was in her pandemic self-portraits process. And she had, within this whole thing with the pandemic, found a way to express her creativity in this project with you guys, which you guys are very familiar with because you did a recent interview with her. So she offered me her August slot. And so I was able to put on this exhibition months later, and crazily, I kept going with it. So this was a very full show because I just like, I thought it was done, but I'm not done. I have so much more to say. And then so I kept going with it and put it on in August of 2020. And it was really cool. I think it was really healing. I was posting this poetry as it came along and sharing it, and people were really responsive to it. I think it was something that I needed, and apparently other people needed, because I got a lot of really good feedback.
And this image that we're looking at right now, fanning the flame, that was part of that show, correct?
Yeah. Yes, it was. Yes. Yeah. And that was the one that I actually wrote a poem about. And the poem was about my partner, Josh. But what my goal is to, as I build my website, to actually click onto these images from this show, and the poetry will be behind that click, but haven't gotten there yet.
I love that. I think that's really appropriate, especially for what you did with this show. So Thanks. do you have the poem?
Oh my gosh, somewhere. I would have to, I do, but I would have to dig it up.
Gotcha.
If you want to pause, I can dig it up, but
no, that's all right.
No, it's all right. I'm just curious if either you had it committed to memory, or if.
Oh, absolutely not. No, I'm not good at memorizing things, but I mean, it really, I submitted one poem. There were about 20 pieces. I've asked people, some people in my family, my brother is a lovely poet. My son, Kenny, is a poet. Friends in the art community, and then friends that I just reach out to, even people that, like Abby Mott was one of the poets that participated. And it was interesting, when I was on Santa Fe at Canon Art Collective, Abby was sitting on the corner every day, or every first Friday, with a little typewriter, vintage typewriter, in the cold, in the heat, and all of these things. And she'd have a little net cap on. She'd be like, tappity tap tap. And she would write a poem. If you like, she'd say, give me a topic and I'll write you a poem. So I found her. I had bought a little book of her poetry, and then I searched her out, like you can stalk somebody and find them nowadays. And I said, I really want to work with you on this. Can I collaborate with you? And she typed them out on her typewriter and sent them to me in the mail. They were absolutely lovely. And it was so neat, just like I said, just to see what you're doing through other people's eyes and collaboration. I just love doing it. So, and so she worked with me on it. And it was really cool. It was just really cool. Like, to know this person, not very well, and then work with her on a project like this. And I paid her for her time and, or for her poetry that she submitted to me. So, because people should be paid.
Yeah,
absolutely. So going back to this new show that we're going to see a day after this airs, I want to talk about a piece that I really love that I'm excited to see in person, and that is this piece here. What is the name of this piece?
I think the name of the piece is Vantage Point, if memory is and I'm sure it's Vantage Point. Yes. I got kind of obsessed with houses, and I started making houses, and there's probably some weird Freudian psychological reason for this, but I have no idea why. But houses are sort of one of the shapes and themes that are in this show. And that piece in particular was kind of cool because when Josh looked at it, my partner, he looked at it and he's like, "Do you see the people in the shadows?" And I was like, I don't see what. And then I looked at it and I'm like, there are absolutely people in the shadows of this piece that were unintentional. But I mean, I wish I could have planned that. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool for that reason.
So you made little houses.
Uh-huh.
And it looks like you got these geometric shapes, and then you actually have looks like pages from books incorporated into it.
Yeah, I'm big into, now that one is in process. So if you look at the more current pictures, that looks different now. But yes, there are pages of books, and I have very often used pages of books, and I try to find a font that I like. I mean, I have a book that it's a book like I think they used on this. It's a Steinbeck book, but it's not a Steinbeck book. It's a book that Steinbeck wrote letters back and forth with other people. So it's a book of letters that were written by John Steinbeck to people. And the sad thing about this book is I hate tearing up books, even though sometimes I do. But years ago, my dog ate this book. So like it had like several, like he just had a dog that was kind of reckless. And I was like, shit, I really like that book. And so since then I've been using this book and these really beautiful font from that book to use in my collage. And that's part of what's been incorporated here.
And the piece that I was initially talking about, let me see if I can find it again. This piece here, Vantage Point.
Yes.
I love this. I mean, it's stunning. And I see the people in the shadows now that you mention it, but yeah,
I did too. Once he pointed it out, but I mean, because it was an intentional, and that's part of like the cool, like happy accidents and like weird magic shit that happens sometimes when you make art. And like, and also the advantage of having somebody else's perspective, which we do that a lot around here.
I love how intuitive the process is, at least with this body of work that you're doing. And it looks like you incorporated a mirror into this piece. Is that correct?
If like there was so this piece, what I sometimes do is when I have a piece that I feel like, okay, and this piece this actually panel hung in a show, and I didn't feel like it was my strongest work. And so I tore it apart, and this, it had a hole in it. The panel had a hole that had a bird's nest in the hole that was sunk into the hole. And I ripped the bird's nest off, and I thought, I really want to put something in here that is reflective. And so I did two things. I put this very thick magnifying glass on, I fixed it there. And then behind the magnifying glass is a mirror. And so if you look into this piece in person, which hopefully you'll come to the show and you'll be able to see it, you can look into the mirror, you can look into it. And what's interesting is it flips you upside down. So you can see yourself upside down looking back at you.
I love that.
So if you look at it real closely, you can see the art in our living room. And we have this really cool mid-mod fan that looks like a spaceship. You can see it in there, but it's pretty cool. And I like working with assemblage and like putting in objects that give interest to a piece.
I love how this body of work, it is abstract, but it's not purely abstract. You know, I like how you incorporate the realism with abstraction, you know?
Thank you. Yeah. Actually, this was a big challenge for me. Like this piece probably has more realism. And there's one portrait piece as well, but like that, it's hard. It was hard for me after I learned how to actually paint things to actually go back to being more primitive and phase out of that and discipline myself to not do that, to not try to find the isness in things and just kind of say, okay, like if you like, obviously this looks like houses, but one of my clients recently said, oh my gosh, I love it. It looks just like a graveyard. And I was like, that's awesome. Like she saw tombstones. And I was like, to me, like some people get offended, but I was like, oh my God, I love that you saw something different, because for me, it was so clearly houses from different distances, right? And the graveyard piece for me, because I love graveyards. So I was like, thank you for saying that. That is awesome that you saw that and you shared it with me.
Yeah, that is a stunning piece right there.
Thank you. That's one of my favorites from the show. I appreciate it.
Is it really?
Yeah, it really
awesome.
is. Yeah.
There's another piece that I want to talk about. This one is called I Was Here.
Mm-hmm. That's another one that has a little more representational value too. Yep.
Yeah, this is a stunner as well. It's just there's so much going on, and yeah, I love this body of work that you're doing, and I can't wait to see it in person.
Oh, thank you. This piece, I Was Here. Sometimes I'm not a photographer at all, but I call myself a documenter because I do most of the social media, like photos and all the things. But we did a lot of walking during the pandemic, and just walking, just to go out of the house and go somewhere. And there was this weird thing that I did for a period of time where I was taking photographs of myself walking, and it seemed like there's nobody in the streets. It was like almost like it was a ghost town, you know? And so as I was walking, I kept, during these certain times of day, I would see shadows of myself. And it was almost like this feeling like that everybody had, I feel like, and I really had it. I was lucky enough to go through all this with a partner who I adore, but there's a sense of loneliness and stillness that just permeated things, right? So when I was walking, I took this photograph, and I was walking my dog, who was not featured in this, but I took a photograph of myself, and it sort of it was at this angle where my legs seemed really big and my head seemed really small. And for some reason, I just felt like I had to make this into a painting. But in the painting, or in the encaustic painting, should I say, I flipped that. So the dark part is light. Okay. And then so kind of the idea of, there's this weird feeling of when you're dealing with fear, and maybe this feeling as I get older of I realize that my time is on this earth is really short, you know? So the idea of I was here is kind of like the shadow that you leave behind. Okay. And in this case, it's this kind of reverse shadow. And so it's sort of like a feeling of where the space that you occupy, where does that go when you're gone? It's this idea of you occupied this space. I was here. And what happens when you're gone, and what happens to that space that you occupied? I mean, obviously other things occupy it, but it's just sort of this feeling that sort of what's next. And I'm not religious, but I sort of have all these feelings of what happens, what's next, you know? And that's maybe what it is I was here, you know, and maybe that's why we make art. Maybe that's part of why we feel this weird narcissistic need to leave these things behind, to just sort of mark our presence here. That is a short period of time.
Yeah, I think that's human nature, that we want to leave something of a legacy behind, something for people to remember us by. I think that's what drives a lot of people, right?
Sure. And I'm not going to cure cancer. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm probably not going to invent the next invention. I thought of some great inventions, but every time I do it, somebody else has thought of it.
Right.
I'm like, that'd be, oh, damn it. Google it. Shit. Somebody already did that. But it's just kind of like this feeling of like, I existed here and I understand that I am a drop in the bucket. I'm just small. I'm so insignificant. And we're all so insignificant. But, just this idea that in this time, in this space, in this one day, walking my dog down the street, I saw the shadow that was evidence that I existed in this one moment.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's human nature. So I've often thought about what do I leave behind? And my fascination with cemeteries is the same thing. It's like you walk around, you see names, and you can kind of imagine, or maybe they have something that makes a connection. Like there's somebody buried in Lee that was at the battle, he survived the Battle of Little Bighorn. And I was so it made me go down a rabbit hole about him.
Yeah, I know, history.
Yeah. And then I had a flip happen to me a few months ago where I was thinking, maybe my goal should be that I leave no trace behind. And what would that look like? And, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think it's a deep thought, and seeing that is a really interesting idea. And I love that you're exploring that, even that philosophical point in this this piece is really cool.
Thank you. Thanks.
I think that's, what Wes just touched on. I think that's what I really enjoy about whatever work that I've seen, is that I can tell that there's a lot of thought behind it. I can tell that you're a thinking person. It's not just a pretty object, that there's actually, a process that goes on and some thought going on behind the actual work itself.
Well, thank you. And so from a historic overthinker, somebody whose thoughts have kept me up at night, I feel like art has sort of saved me from my brain, from my overthinking brain with anxiety, and anxiety lives in what's happened and what will happen. But it's like with this thing, and I love yoga too. I mean, I haven't done it in a while, but it's kind of like this thing that physically takes your brain and occupies you, but also engages that part of you that wants to think about like what the purpose of things is. But not in a way like, oh my God, what if somebody dies? And then like your phone rings, you're like, somebody's died. I know it. And you're like, oh, it's just spam. Just like anxiety is like, it's just soul killing. So if you can find something that actually you can occupy yourself with versus fear and dread, that's probably one of the main reasons why, I've loved it for my entire life. But it's the thing that really just brings me back to the present.
So what kind of things give you anxiety?
Oh, God. Gosh, where do I begin? Well, really, that's a deep question. So I have 3 sons that are all adults, and when they were kids, I worried about something happening to them. I worried about them being out in the world and somebody harming them, or, like them getting sick, or, just all the gamut of things that as parents we worry about. And then as they're adults, now I have adult children. So, I could worry about them. There's so many things that could happen to people. So mostly I worry about people. Like I worry, like, what if something happened to Josh? Like, what if, like, how would I be able to go on? What would I do? What if something happened to one of my children? Or I have 2 grandchildren. And so these are the things that I cannot control. But like, if it's my worst fear, it's not losing all my money. It's not, my house burning down. It's not even cancer. It is, what if something happened to somebody that I love? And so for me, it's just like, if you spend too much time in that headspace, you lose time because it's just soul sucking. So I have probably in my past, I was in a 8-year-long abusive relationship. in my late teens, early 20s, that created some pretty bad post-traumatic stress for me. And I think that I've worked very hard to resolve that trauma, but like our brains, when we've been in really unsafe situations, will create a scenario for us to continue to work on that. So when I got out of that situation for 2 years straight, I had horrific nightmares because like the things that are kind of like in your psyche and kind of built into your body remembers that trauma and your brain remembers that trauma. So when that happens, I mean, it manifests itself into things that are even safe. And so I've worked really, really hard to try to find methods of being safe and feeling safe and working and processing through my trauma and through everybody has trauma. And just how do I work through that? How do I be the best version of myself that I can be? And how do I take that? And my day job, I'm a hairstylist. So I talk to people all day long. And how do I take that healing and the things that I've learned and kind of help others with that? And I think that's huge. And for me, art, it facilitates that as well. It's, making art is really physically and psychologically good for me. But also, like, there have been, like, the show I did about poetry. I did a self-portrait in that show it was a very dark and scary self-portrait of a woman with a hand over her mouth, and it's called Quiet Creature. And I was able to really heal a lot from my trauma by painting that. It was the hardest painting I've ever done, but also have really awesome and healing conversations with other people about who have been through that experience. So I guess when I was younger, I felt like, the way to do it is look on the bright side, and so my early work was like shining, big sunshines and colors and rainbows. And so as I got older, I realized that, really, if you could just embrace the shadow of things and really feel that darkness, that there is something so much more healing in it than running away from it and trying to make nice and pretend. Mind over matter doesn't always work. Sometimes you really have to spend time with the darkness. And that's the painting. That's the one.
Yeah, it's a powerful piece. It definitely, when Todd brought it up initially, I was like, it's like holding back a scream. That's what it reminds me of. Yeah.
And that's why it's called Quiet Creature. So yeah. And anybody who's experienced violence and domestic violence understands that there is the worst part is people are going through these awful traumatic experiences, but they have to remain quiet about these experiences. And it's like, that's just like, you're not safe. You're not safe to speak about these things. And that's really what it's about. And it was not, and you will be surprised to know this is not sold. Just because nobody wants this hanging on their living room wall. But I don't make art to sell it. I make it because it's what is speaking to me at that moment. And at that moment, I really felt like I needed to say something about this piece about not speaking or not being able to speak. It was almost like being able to paint this picture was my ability to actually finally speak up. And it's not that I haven't been speaking up. I'm something that a lot of people don't know about me, because I always say, it's not who I am, it's something that happened to me. But I think when we speak about these things, like when you shine light in the darkness and these shameful places, that it helps other people to understand that they can speak up and they can find healing in other people, and just sharing these experiences is healing.
That is really powerful. And thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks.
So can you talk about bliss? And it's interesting. It's bliss with a question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about that piece. I love this piece.
Well, thank you. So back to looking at the bright side, sometimes we really don't want to look at hard things. And I'm ashamed to admit I rarely watch the news I try to sort of, because of the way things affect me, I'm sort of sensitive. And so I just let things trickle in and sort of, I absorb things a little more slowly than maybe some people. And so this one is like bliss is ignorance really bliss? Because, sometimes when you're turned away or you're blindfolding or you're choosing to not look at things, it's not always healthy because then stuff just sort of catches up to you, then you're like, oh my God, what happened? Like I'll go to work during the day and like my client will say, oh, there was a horrible shooting. There are 14 children, I'm making this up, but were murdered in cold blood. And it's just like, oh my God, and there's almost this feeling of guilt because it's like, while I'm here in my studio with my making my superfluous paintings about, nonsense, like people have been murdered or things are happening in the world, or there's people who are suffering in the Ukraine, there's always all this stuff going on around me. And so I've had to learn to be very present with my body and where I'm at and what I'm dealing with. But sometimes I feel kind of like this sense of guilt and sadness because even though there's nothing that I can do, I feel that I should sort of be collectively grieving or collectively just caring for these people that are struggling. And so I think that's pretty much what that's about.
What's the number 14 represent for this?
I love numbers. My 14 is my birthday. October 14th is my birthday. So anyway, I'll throw in weird codes. I just you'll see little hidden objects or hidden things and paintings. It's just fun. There's no real, I wish I could be oh, there's this real scientific. Nope. Just fun.
It's not about numerology, huh?
I'm not, sure. But
I bet it'll have some representation for other people. That's what's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I love the number 14. So if it's just oh, let's put a 14 on this because nice. I like numbers. I get a little nerdy about numbers sometimes, oh, your birthday is the 21st, mine's the 14th, and this person's the 28th, and you're the 7th. We're all divisible as 7. It's okay. Okay, weirdo. No, my brain gets obsessive. This is up at night. Sometimes I'll start just mapping out weird codes in my head, and I'm totally right brain, so it doesn't make sense at all, but.
Well, I do like this piece a lot. I think it's thought provoking. It definitely could have a lot of interpretations. So it'd be interesting to see what people say about it.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I always like to, when I want to say to people, they'll say, is this right? Did I get it right? What it's about, what it is? And I'm like, yeah, it's right. I've had people come into the gallery on Santa Fe and I made this painting about I kind of did birds for a while, went through a bird phase, and these two birds that were on different branches staring at each other. And in the gentleman who came in said, oh my God, my father just died. And I feel like it's my mother will identify with this because it's these two birds who are looking at each other from these different realms. In his mind, that's what it was. And I had put, I love Rumi. I'm a poetry geek. So anyway, I had put, the title was to do with something with Rumi, what you seek is seeking you or something. Anyway, it was for him, it was something healing. And for me, it wasn't exactly that thing, but it didn't matter. I didn't argue with them, say, oh, that's not what it's about. No, it's when people gravitate toward a painting of mine and they buy it, or even they just enjoy it, they don't have to buy it. But if it means something to them, that's fine. I love that what I do can exist and live outside of what maybe I intended. So half the time, I'm being honest, I don't even know what I'm making when I make it. I just let it come out and then I decide. And it could mean all sorts of things, to different people, including me.
Tenant wants to acknowledge our media sponsor, New Magazine. That's N-U-E. You can follow both the national and the Denver edition of New Magazine on Instagram. The national edition can be found at new_magazine and the Denver edition at new_Denver_magazine. And I want to share with you something very exciting. Check out the newly launched New Denver Gallery Guide. Look for the signage that says New Denver Gallery Guide that has a QR code. Scan it with your phone, and you have instant access to a comprehensive digital guide to Denver's finest galleries and exhibitions. Find this QR code in your favorite gallery, hotel, or coffee shop as you visit and explore Denver. Thanks for listening.
I am Christy Lynne Seving, and you are listening to the Tenant Podcast.
You touched on early on in the interview that, art has been part of who you've been your entire life. That you started as a child. Right. But what kind of set you on this current path? You said that you've been, exploring all this work in your adult life the last 12 years or so.
Right.
What was the catalyst for that?
It's really hard to say. I mean, this exhibition I'm putting on is my 10th solo exhibition. And I don't know if I mentioned that, but I counted it today because I knew this interview. I'm like, how many of these have I done? But I'd say as a child, my grandfather was a watercolorist and he was a doodler. I mean, he just sketched all these funny, weird, like Picasso-like profiles. And I mean, he was always working, and I would sit on his lap as a child and he was always doodling, he was painting, and he was just passionate about all these things. Now, he never showed really professionally. When I was a kid, I did this weird abstract piece that had all these shapes, ironically. And there were pieces chosen that would go into the Denver Art Museum. There was some type of thing where our teachers said, we're given this challenge to choose works, like a couple of works from what kids were doing in their school. And my art teacher chose one of my pieces, which God knows where that ever went. I have no idea. But the point is that, early on, I just said, I just thought to myself, I really want to be an artist. And so I ended up getting pregnant in high school, age 17. And I had my son, Kenny, at that time, right out of high school. But I graduated, and the last year of my high school career, or my second semester of my junior, first semester of my senior year, I went to vocational school to become a hairstylist. And so I think for a really long time, that career kind of satisfied my creativity. And then raising kids, I mean, they were really what I did. My kids were my hobby. If they played football, I played football. I mean, I was doing just whatever they were doing and trying to be a good mom while working full time. And so when my kids started getting older, and I'd say this was probably about 12 years, I started just feeling this restlessness inside of me. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. And I love my kids, but it feels like, I need something for myself, So there was this Memorial Day, my ex-husband and I were sitting around the house, and I just had this angst in me. And I got real bitchy. I was like, I'm sick of doing the same things over and over again. And I'm like, I'm getting a calendar. And so I grabbed the calendar. I'm like, I'm going to put something we're going to do something once a week that is different, like that we're not doing right now. So I went and looked at calendars and what was going on. And because I just fell in a rut. And in this relationship was not the right relationship for me either. I mean, it was just like, we just didn't jive, So it wasn't working for me. But furthermore, I was just trying to find something different. So we did all sorts of things. I mean, we went out to dinner at places we hadn't gone to. But one of the things we did was we went to First Friday Art Walk on Tennyson in North Denver. And I happened to talk to a woman. Her name is, and she's still a friend of mine. Her name is Sophia Rose. And she had a gallery on Tennyson Street, which was since closed many years ago, but it was called Eccentricity Gallery. And I've talked to her about art, and I said, I love art, and I've started painting again. And she's like, well, you should submit something because I have an open call happening. And so I've submitted her this painting, 2 paintings that I would now be embarrassed to show in public. But she accepted them, and she did me this kindness because this thing that I felt that I needed to do somehow was satisfied, and me like just making this piece and sharing it and talk to other people who are artists is something I never really didn't go to art school, self-taught. So this thing just lit a fire in me. So after this, I started like applying to every single art call endeavor. I mean, and to ridiculousness. Like I would be like, yeah, I can do that. And I would paint a painting about something that I had, so, I mean, and then I was lucky. I mean, this was 2011, and I feel like it was a little bit of a sweet spot, and I was lucky, so I got my pieces in some shows, and then I sold a piece. The first piece I ever sold was at Spark Gallery on Santa Fe. They had an open call that was called Used. And so I did this assemblage piece that sold, and it was like $300, but like it might have been they called me on the phone and told me that this had happened. And I was like, it just set something off in me. So I then joined Below, our Canon Gallery, who had a Below show every year and still does. And I applied to Canon and they accepted me. So I started this thing where I was able to just make and create and experiment. And it just changed my life. It changed my entire life and my entire way I spend my time, and became an obsession. And it is still an obsession. So interestingly, Canon Art Collective is the place where I met Josh, my partner, who you guys know. And I was married and he was in a relationship, but we became friends. And I met a lot of really good friends there that I still have. And then Josh and I started a relationship 3 years later. We had split up from our partners, and we ended up just dating. I kind of said, hey, I kind of like you. I think I sort of told them that I was interested in him, and we ended up dating. And then I joined Next Gallery, because I started to hang out with the people at Next Gallery. And I just, as much as I appreciated and loved Canon, I just felt like, man, these are really my people. And this was 6 years ago. So that's a long, long story. But I mean, it's really just like events that occurred and little tiny things that have happened. And, when Josh and I first got together, he would be honest with you to say he really didn't like my artwork. And that was funny. He's like, I don't know. I mean, it's not that he didn't see promise in it, but it was funny because, but it was just like me and this, in these art collectives. And what it has done for me is given me the freedom to do basically whatever the fuck I want every year. Once you're in the door, I'm like, this year, I'm going to do this. Like next year, I could be like performance art. Not going to happen, by the way. But I'm saying it gives me the freedom to explore what I'm doing. And we have been together 6 years and have lived together for 6 years or 7 years, 6 years. Anyway, point is that being in this relationship with another artist is just transformative. Like both of us, I think, have just absolutely grown because we have this other person who's we're supporting each other, not just with kindness, but with honesty. Like, okay, like we will really be honest and kind about feedback on what we're doing. And if we think it's working or not, and we trust each other. And so, and within that safe scenario of trust and sort of partnership, I think that my art has grown a lot. This is a long explanation. I'm sorry, but I think it was about 4 years ago, I did a show called Facing My Fears. And for as long as I had been creating art, I'd never learned how to draw faces. And so somehow, like back to happenstance, I'm walking through the library, which I do sometimes when I'm looking for inspiration. I walked through the library and found a book about portraits and how to draw them. Picked it up off the shelf and came home and I said, I'm going to learn to draw faces. And so the next day, what I did is I started drawing faces and publicly sharing these faces for 80 days. I made a portrait every day for 80 days. And the beginning portraits, like one of the ladies does a profile and she looked like she got hit in the face with a shovel. Like it's so hard. And so I struggled, but what I can tell you is I did it no matter where I was. If I was a restaurant, I drew it on a menu. If I was like, we were in Telluride, I sat on Telluride and drew it. But Josh, who is actually you may not know this based on his body of work, but a skilled figurative drawer and painter, would sit down with me every night and say, okay, your eyes are crooked and your nose is too wide and your lips are funny. And like the corners of the lips don't actually terminate. You have to put circles. He's like, try these things in circles. And so even he would give me this feedback and sit down with me and teach me these things. And like that, in addition to the fact that I practiced and practiced and practiced, just transformative because it's just having somebody who's willing to sit with you and help you. So long explanation, but that's kind of my art journey and how this thing started from me just being a kid who sat and, made cartoons that passed back and forth to my friends in class to me deciding that I'm an artist. But I'm not just an artist because, everybody's an artist. Everybody's an artist. And I mean that. I've convinced so many people that they are artists, but that just that I don't know how I would describe it, but that I'm just committed to this idea of making and through art and fine art, but also craft and whatever that means, just learning skills and using these skills to make things.
So I got a question to kind of follow up on this.
Please talk.
No, that's all good. So how do you think you're doing portraits for 80 days straight and then learning the process of portraiture? How has that informed your abstract?
It's a good question because when I first started making art, I was really attracted to abstract because, I was like, shit, I don't even have to know how to draw or paint figure. I mean, I can just, I have a pretty good understanding of color theory and composition and these things, but as I've learned more figurative work, I started to understand more like that abstract painters some of them did, but didn't just splash paint on a board, all of them. Many of them learned to take this thing that they knew how to do really very well and deconstruct it. And so it was really hard for me to learn how to actually figuratively paint and draw and then go back and say, all right, I don't need to do that right now. So I have a habit of starting an abstract painting and the next thing you know, it's a thing, so it was a challenge for me to actually paint in a way that was non-representational, but absolutely look at Pablo Picasso. I mean, people are like, that woman has 5 noses and 3 boobs. Not important. Look at his classical work. I can't remember who he studied under, maybe Manet or something, but this man can paint. He just chose to rebel against Renaissance and that what was going on during that time period and do something different. And so, yes, I do think that learning to paint realistically and figuratively has informed my abstract work. And I want to say after that is I have a long, long way to go with my figurative work. I could go back to the drawing table on that for another 80 years and still, I mean, it's never over. You just never quit feeling like you could improve.
Outside of your day job,
Uh-huh.
which is very creative, because I think that in itself is artistry, from
you.
someone that, doesn't have a lot of hair left on their head and has gotten a lot of bad haircuts in the last 2 years.
Well, you can come on in. I'll take the guys that don't have hair. They just want to talk. I'm a good talker.
Well, I'm not that dude, but I consider it artistry, and and also, somebody that can make me look good. You're in. But are you creating every day? Do you create every day outside of what you do as far as your day job, being a hairstylist? And you've done this for, over 25 years or something like that?
32 years. Yeah.
32 years. Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. And because I feel like what I do during the day is a collaboration. Like this person gives me feedback about what they want or what they want to see. And we work together to create something that makes them feel good. And also, I just love the personal interaction with people. I really feel like it's a really lovely personal experience to have a hairstylist who knows all your shit and talks to you. And that's part of what I love about my job. But part of what I love about art is that canvas does not speak and does not have an opinion. So yes, I think that practice is one of the most important things. And it's not about there's a million different quotes about art making. I think one is something along the lines that the muse catches you working. I'm not sure who said it. Who knows? I think Pablo Picasso said some iteration of that. But anyhow, yeah, I think practice is the thing. Just get in the studio. 90% of what you make is garbage anyway. We have at Next Gallery, we have a lot of young people who come in. We really take mentoring. We take it. It's important to us. And so my advice is often to these young artists, just keep making. Stop deciding whether it's good or bad. Just keep making and be prepared to let go of things. Like 90% of what you do should probably end up on the cutting room floor, especially when you are, starting out and you're emerging. And so, yes, practice and every single day trying to be creative. And part of that is just how do you, for me is I'd just rather be in the studio than just about any other place, either in the studio or at the gallery talking or, and my relationships too. I love my family. I love Josh. But to me, the way to make life not seem like just a soul sucking thing is I love to cook. I love to make a meal. And how can you make a meal and present it? Haven't done a lot of it lately, I'm going to be honest. But how do you make a meal and prepare it with ingredients? And how do you curate those things together? How do you make them? How do you make that a lovely experience? How can you make a cup of tea and sit on your front porch and stare out at, I have a tree in my front yard and his name is Elliot. Don't ask me why I named my tree Elliot, but I did. And so me and Elliot are sitting there and we're just looking at the sky and I don't know if he has eyes, but I'm looking at the sky and I'm having a cup of tea and I'm sitting there feeling the breeze. And I'm thinking, this is I'm creating this experience. I'm having a creative experience. And we can do that no matter where we're at. You can drive to work and look around you and see, you can be in your head or you can look around and look at the different things and experience these different things. So yes, I absolutely I am a full-time artist. I have recently, but I have been a full-time artist for years. Recently I've cut my work week back to 3 long days. So the rest of the days I can either be at Next, working at the gallery, be in the studio, and then also all the other nonsense that we do as people. But it is absolutely about practice. There, people who are just born gifted artists, fine, great, but it's mostly bullshit because most of the people that I talk to, I've had this conversation so many times with people, and they're like, I wish that I could do what you do. And I said, you could. Not exactly what I do, but you could. I mean, because like these people, I mean, like I have like my client is an accountant. And I'm like, well, I am not, my accounting skills are not great. I'm going to be honest. And I wish I was a gifted accountant. So the reason why I say this is like, don't you understand that it is years and years and years and years and years of practice and dedication and work that goes into anything that we do well. I chose art to put this time and dedication into, and it's work, but it's lovely. And like every single day that I can do this, I feel like, I hate the word blessed because it's on every fucking pillow and mug and goddamn Ray Dunn. Ugh, it's awful, but I feel so freaking fortunate that, you know, like I get to do this thing. I get to do this thing. And I get to do this thing in my studio and work with these awesome materials. I got to work with my partner. I get to work with this excellent group of artists at Next Gallery that I am fortunate to spend time with. And then the greater Denver art community. And then people like you guys, like who educate me and who I listen to. And I just feel lucky. But I work my ass off.
I love it because it was so perfect because my follow-up question was, and I already knew in my head what I thought, but I was going to ask you, you know, are you a full-time artist? And you answered it straight out, because one of the things that, as we're talking with people, and especially our last interview with Brett Andrus down
I listened to it,
in the Springs, you know, he works in the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's talking about dispelling the mythos of, you know, what an artist is and what that means. And we know from doing this podcast that everybody does it differently. But just because you do something else to, you know, pay your mortgage and keep the lights on and everything does not, you know, that does not take away from you being a full-time artist. You're working hard at it and doing it constantly. And that in my mind is what makes a full-time artist.
Right. And I do. I mean, I've worked as many hours or more at this job, but also it's just like, for me, it's a good balance. It's like, I have to put pants on today. I need to put pants on and walk outside and talk to other people. And actually, like, this thing grounds me into this other place where, like, hey girl, the world doesn't revolve around you. And it's good for me to do this. I mean, I'm in my studio walking, you know, making these projects and digging through boxes, looking for that like glass eyeball that I lost that, you know, just what weird shit. And then it's just like, I have to go to work and like think about other people, and it's grounding and also doesn't put this unreasonable pressure for me to feel like whatever I am making has to be popular or like has to feed the masses with whatever it is the like trendy thing right now. Cause I don't give a shit, you know, like if I feel like I had a show a few years ago that was called The Devil's Gateway. And I spent the entire show was about painting prostitutes and, you know, like all these scandalous women throughout history, starting with like Eve and all these people. And like, I just delved into this whole idea that like all these women like that are like, I just want to paint these people right now. This is what I want to do. And that's what I did. And people actually loved it. But there are certain things like I did a portrait of Hitler's mother. Hitler's mother. And the portrait is just weird, like, because it was like, it had a sign on it and the sign said in German, I'm sorry. And like, nobody wants a picture of Hitler's mother hanging on the wall, but I don't give a shit if it's like, the thing is like, that's what I felt like doing. And so some of these things never are going to see the wall, you know, and I don't care. I don't feel like my day job, I have reduced it and condensed it. Like in the pandemic, I used to work 5 days a week at my job. Now I'm at 3 days a week. And I'm like, I don't care if I come in early and leave late. I am not giving more than 3 days a week to this job. And it's fine. And those people who can figure out a way to do it 100%, good for you. I love that they can do that. But like until like we have to pay bills unless you have a benefactor, somebody who really says, hey, do whatever you want. I've never had a benefactor. I actually have to, deal with the practical things of life as well.
Absolutely. And it doesn't take away from you being a full-time artist. Like you said, you're in the studio working just as much in there as you are, working your day job as a hairstylist 3 days a week, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a good balance. It's a very nice balance for me. And maybe, like I've been doing it 32 years and I'm like, someday I'm not going to do this anymore because there's an old saying, but I don't know who said it besides me, but how do hairdressers retire? They just die behind the chair one day. They die and somebody sweeps them up. It's like we don't have I'm self-employed. I don't have I have a retirement because I've saved, but not because there's no benefits to this job other than, good money. That's it.
Right on.
So, yeah.
You kind of talked about how you schedule around your job as a hairstylist with working in the studio by just working long days, which I think is brilliant, by the way.
Thank you.
How many hours a week are you probably in your studio, would you say?
It comes in, it depends on what's going on. In my studio, like for a while when I was actively making the work for this show, I would say probably 30 hours a week in my studio. And sometimes that means I wake up at 7 a.m. and I'm like, I'm up. And then I work until noon and maybe I have to go to work or whatever I'm doing. But yeah, long hours and I'm obsessive. So when I get started, it's really hard for me to stop something. So but then there's also just the business side of things like, social media, and I run my own social media, and then I run social media for our gallery, which I think is really important. To help connect people. And I love that. I love marketing. I love connecting people. And I love how Denver and our art community is so many people, how many people have you guys had on your podcast? Like you had Arlo White a couple of weeks ago. I've known Arlo for 10 years. He's a friend of mine. I'm like, oh, Arlo. And I can listen to his podcast and learn about things that he's I'm like, shoot, I didn't even know that, but there's a lot. And then, with Josh and I, we help each other. So if we're not doing something for ourselves, we're helping the other person. Maybe we're helping figure out titles or pricing, or we might be figuring out he's got a show that's coming up right after mine. And, we're trying to figure out these photographs that he took on a trip that we were on a couple of trips, which ones are the best ones. So it seems like we're always working on art. And if I'm on the phone or somebody's calling me. I had a girl that I mentored through our mentorship program, and she might call me on the phone. So I might be on the phone for 40 minutes with her, trying to help her work through something. And it's just so deeply into the fabric of what I do and what we do. It's just who we are. It's not even work. It's who we are.
Yeah. Is your studio in your house or is it somewhere else?
Yeah. So we're lucky. We have a ranch house in Lakewood, and the whole basement, well, not the whole basement, but the whole main part of our basement is studio space, which I considered doing this interview in that space. And I was like, no, there's no, I have wax on every surface right now. But we have a good, really lovely studio space that Josh and I share in our basement. He right now actually might be out there doing it right now, but we're building a workshop outside of our house that is going to be a 3D studio, and it's going to have table saws and shop saws and drill presses and all these really messy things that we do in our garage or sometimes in our studio. And So like, that's something I've been delving into, is just learning like how to use power tools, and how to, like, this show that I just had up, I learned how to really use a miter saw, and how to chop, how to use angles, and how to measure these angles, and how to do those things. I love power tools. They're awesome. Like, it's funny because Josh got me like a scroll saw a couple of years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, for Christmas. And he's like, he wrote on it, the most romantic Christmas present ever given. And it was a miter saw. And I used that miter saw for this show, that like, I have all these triangles that I cut for this show, miter saw. And I used that miter saw for my last show, because I had all these really angular carved out pieces for this last show. So yeah. So I don't know if that was your question, but
yeah,
that's the answer.
So would you consider Josh your best support?
He's my best support. He's my best friend. If I need help learning something, he is an amazing teacher. He's patient. He's also kind of an ass sometimes, I mean, he'll be like, that's not very good. I mean, but sometimes it's funny. Sometimes there's been times when he says like, you really need to work on that. And I'll be like, screw you, man. And then I look at it, and then he's usually right. There's been times I'm like, you just don't see my vision yet. You need to be quiet now and let me work through it. I'm not asking for feedback. And he'll say that you're right. It's awesome. But yes, we are supports of one another, and we are very honest with one another. And that makes us better. He always says compliments make me happy, and criticism makes me better. And I agree with that.
That's a great saying.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. He probably stole it from somewhere.
That's all right. Steal it where you can.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all we're doing anyway. We're all just stealing.
Absolutely. It's
from
all
each other.
stolen. It's all plagiarized at the end of the day.
Now, your goal with your artwork is not necessarily to make money with it. It's nice when you do, but you do it first and foremost for yourself. But how do you go about, I want to ask some business type questions. Okay. How do you go about selling your art?
Well, right now, especially in the last several years, it's been mostly through gallery. I've definitely had pieces that sell straight off of the internet, like Facebook or Insta, where, people like, can I buy that? And I'm like, yes, you can. But mostly through my art exhibits, either through my solo exhibitions or through our community gallery. And so I promote, I promote what I'm doing, but, and my sales are actually, my last show sales were great. But it's not, my last couple of shows have sold pretty well, but it's not enough to support me. I mean, really. So, I don't know. It's just, I think that when something sells is a very nice compliment. But the biggest thing is I don't want to be the best collector of my own artwork. I want to move it so that I can, create space for the next thing.
How do you go about pricing?
Well, we help each other, and it's always kind of like this, like conversation back and forth, like maybe that's too much. No, that's not enough. You're worth more than that. And it's really hard because, like, for me, I'm so obsessive. I might spend 100 hours on something, so, and then I ask myself, is that really like you can't like go hourly on that, because part of it is because I like, it should be blue, no green, no blue, no green. I just change my mind and I obsess, and that's part of the fun. So this show in particular, my prices went up a little bit because, the cost of materials with encaustic is kind of high, but also I feel like I should give myself a raise every year because my skills get better. And if we don't give ourselves a raise, nobody else is going to. So this show I priced really like by square inch for the most part, because some of it is sculptural. So just trying to figure out the square inch equation. And then as it gets bigger, that pricing equation, like the per square inch goes a little lower. Otherwise it would get so expensive. But also small work, the equation gets a little higher because there's so much detail in small work, and you can really kind of cheat yourself if you don't like pay attention to that. So sometimes it's just like, what do I feel like this is worth? And what have I been successful price-wise in the past? Like, like my last show, how well did it sell, and how can I increase that a bit, but also like try to keep it, like I want art to be for everyone. And I had a girl come into my show once and just cried because some piece moved her, but she couldn't afford it. And so she asked me if I made a prints, which mostly I don't. And so her friends like got in their pockets and like carved out $300 for her to buy this piece. She loved it so much. And $300, I mean, in an art world is not a lot of money, but it was probably a lot of money to her. And I gave her a huge discount because I'm like, I just want people to own it. I just want when people own it and like I can keep doing it. It's not, I think that artists should be paid well, and I don't think they're paid as well as they should be. But I try to reasonably price it. So like if I can't afford to buy my artwork, then I feel kind of like, and I'm an art connoisseur. We have a massive art collection. It's just, I want to be able to, for real people to be able to afford to buy my work.
So that said, where does your artwork start, your pieces start, and what does it go up to pricing wise?
So that's real, like interesting. Okay. So this show, like I think the most affordable piece is like $24. There's a crazy because, and the most expensive piece might be like $1,800. And the reason why is because I have this huge, it's a installation of triangles that I'm doing. So I got obsessed on triangles. And so I started making these little tiny triangles up to these really big triangles. And the idea is that they're just going to be kind of like moving and scattered across the wall. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to like individually price these triangles. So I have like, 20 like one triangles or something, but they're, small and tiny. And some people come in and I know they don't have a lot of money. And if they can, like afford a $24 piece of encaustic artwork and it makes them happy, it makes me happy.
Awesome. Commissions. Do you do commissions? Do people commission you to do work?
But not very often, to be honest with you. And part of that is just because I feel like I'm just now really starting to expand myself a little more beyond what I do in the gallery. But yeah, I mean, I've done commission work for like people know I'm an artist and say, can you do this? I did a huge like wall piece for somebody like 3 years ago that she said, I love this piece that she saw somewhere and can you do something inspired by that piece? And I'm like, never will copy a piece, but I have done commissions, but not that often. And I have mixed feelings about it. It's not that I like every day I work in collaboration with people and I feel like I'm a good communicator, but I also just love doing whatever the hell I want, so I don't want it to become like production work but if I found a commission with somebody who really like, loves what I do. And I feel like we're kind of simpatico about the way that we feel about something. It's a really lovely challenge and I'm always open to it.
Next, since we last talked to you, has moved into a new space.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful space.
Oh, thank you. I agree. Yeah.
Have you seen an increase in traffic through the gallery, and has it affected sales having more people if that's the case?
Yeah. So like, as you already know, like our last building, we had like 5 art galleries in the last building. And when we first started there, we were just like the lone rangers of that building. We moved into this dripping hovel of a building and we were just there by ourselves. But Josh and I, and many other people, so I'm not trying to just take all the credit, but we're really serious about the idea of grouping up together so that we could be stronger. Like if you can have like 7 art experiences in one place, it makes it way more optimal than just seeing one show in one place, right? So the thing that I really love about our new space is, first of all, we're with the same galleries from the last space. We have a Next Gallery, Canon Art Collective, Edge, and Core New Art Space. But we also we're in the same building now with 40 West and we're in the building with Lakewood Arts Council. And we also even have like a art supply shop, Red Herring, which is awesome. But yeah, I think that the way that if you walk into this building, the flow of it is you walk through this main breezeway, and then there's gallery on one side and one on the other. So as you walk along, there are these big galleries on every side. And then what it allows for is this communal space kind of in the middle that we didn't have before the same way, you know? So like when we have big art walk and we have like musicians coming through, or performers, or whatever, we just had a big barbecue that we all provided food for, and people walked through. And so it creates a really great space for the community. And then we have like the outside space. So yeah, I think it's going to be super positive. It's been really positive for us, but we've worked really hard even before we usually garner a crowd. But yeah, this new space has been such a like really awesome opportunity for us.
So are you done making the pieces for this next show that's opening? Or are you still kind of?
No, I'm done. Yeah.
You are done?
I mean, I'm never quite done. Like I walked around with white cold wax and did touch-ups, and like, I mean, like I might put something on the wall and say, oh gosh, I wish that were bluer. But yeah, pretty much I'm done. I think I really feel confident about the work that I have in this upcoming show. And also I feel like I've tried to learn that less is not necessarily more, or more is not necessarily as good as quality versus
less is
quantity.
more. Less
is more. Thank you, Wes. Wes is more. So yeah, no, I mean, it's like just trying to say, rather than like, here's all the shit I can do on this theme. Like I like to make like all these pieces and take out 25%, like what didn't make the cut, and work really hard at just saying, what's the cream of the crop, and distill that out without having to show every expression of what I did, you know? So pretty much done. I'm hanging the show, I think on Tuesday, or depending on when the person who's up right now, but I'm hanging the show this coming week. We're opening on Friday, and it's my 10th show. Super excited. And, you know, I couldn't be more thankful for the support of the community around me and for everything. I don't know how I ever became so lucky, but, you know, I feel very lucky.
How long does the show run?
It's 3 weekends. So it's August 26th through September the 11th. And so when we ran a show, we were open on weekends. So we're open Fridays from 6 to 10, Saturdays and Sundays from noon to 5. So for 3 weekends. And by appointment, if anybody ever couldn't make it within those times, I mean, we live in Lakewood. I'm happy to meet people, or, you know, I have people interested in work, then I will privately meet them as well.
So how many pieces are we talking for this show?
Gosh, I don't know. I think you would ask me that. I don't remember. I don't remember a lot of pieces if you count all the triangles, but I'm thinking there's about 21 pieces or something in the show. And I've given myself permission to go bigger than I've gone in the past. I really like small work and all the details, but like the biggest, actually it's not big compared to like a lot of commercial art, but I have a piece that's 36 inches by 36 inches. And that's pretty big for me. And I think part of the reason why sometimes artists, including myself, go away from big work is because it makes you scared. You know, you're like, okay, well, I'll put all this work into this one thing. And then it's harder to sell, but I've given myself permission just to be fearless about going a little bigger, and I hope to go even bigger just because who cares, you know, like if it doesn't sell in the show, it's a piece that I can put somewhere else, or, you know, I'm not worried about that. I'm just trying to give myself permission to do whatever I think will make the best show compositionally.
And looking at your website, it appears that you've already sold a piece before you've even opened. Is that correct?
That is, that happens to me quite often. I have a collector who I have a deal with, and she is lovely. Her name's Joanne, and she's always like looking at my work online and saying, like she bought a couple pieces for my last couple shows. And so she's like, I want that one. Can I have that one? And she's bought work from my last several shows. So, I mean, I actually give her my inventory sheet, and I'm like, here's what I have coming up. If you want to see it in person, she's a collector of mine. So, if she knows right now she wants this one, and I'm like, okay, you got it. And that's true of anybody. If anybody collects my work and I have a relationship with them and they want to see what I have coming, I'll let them see it. And because sometimes I've had it happen where they come and they're like, oh, that was the one I wanted. And I'm like, no, I will communicate with my collectors in advance. Yeah.
This is a beautiful
Seeker
piece. The
yeah,
Seeker.
Thank you. That is a character, and it's very kind of autobiographical. She's a character that shows up in different paintings, and she's sort of I don't know like how to say it, but it's sort of like this idea that you're always searching and looking for like truth and knowledge and spiritual connection, and there's I kind of always love shadows and silhouettes. I love them. You'll see shadows and silhouettes in my work a lot. And I'm sure that there's a reason for that, but that character showed up in a painting a couple of series ago, and she really loved it, but it was a very large painting and she didn't have the room for it. And when it showed up, this same kind of character showed up in this painting. She said, this is the one. So she got it.
So as we wrap this up, you've shared a lot with us tonight. I really appreciate it. Anything else you want to talk about, promote, or that you're looking forward to between now and the end of the year?
As always, I'm just promoting like my gallery and 40 West Arts. People come into our gallery and our space and they're like, this is so awesome. Thank you for having this one event. And I'm always just saying, we do this every weekend. Like we're here every weekend. And there's a new show that turns in our gallery every 3 weeks. So you can come into our space and see something different every, just show up every 3 or 4 weeks and there's a new thing happening, and the variety of what is happening is really extraordinary. We also have a scholarship program that we're trying to promote right now. This is the second time we've done a scholarship where we find emerging artists in the community that might not have an opportunity to within like having a face in the community, but also maybe the financial means. So we have the scholarship program where we're going to support someone to come into the gallery and have them come in, like mentor them for a year without cost to them at all. And this is something that we did a couple years ago. And we've got our artist that is showing this weekend. Her name is Cindy Loya. She was one of the recipients of this. And if you don't know who Cindy Loya is, her show is up this weekend at Next, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which will be too late for you to see it. So probably should cut this out. But anyway, Cindy Loya and Georgia Padilla, who are amazing Next artists, won this scholarship, and they have made themselves so effective and extraordinarily valuable to our gallery. So we're going to continue this. Part of what we do at our gallery is teach and mentor and bring in the next generation. And when I say that, I don't mean young people. I just mean people who have a lot of promise, but maybe not opportunities. So that's something that we're really working on, that we're passionate about. So definitely like to do that. But yeah, for anybody who hasn't come in, I think it will blow your socks off. We'd love to see you at Next.
Right on. Christy, thank you so very much for spending time with us this evening and sharing all that you did. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for being a true friend to us.
Thank you, guys.
Supporting
You're
the
awesome.
podcast. it means the world to us. And
you guys are so extraordinary. What you do has really helped me as an artist. You need to know there's a lot of people like me out there.
Well, we appreciate that. That means a lot. Like Todd was said, that means a lot to us. And we're big fans of you and Josh. We love you guys to death. And thank you so much for coming back on. I appreciate it.
We love you too. And we're going to come out to your Art and Ag event. We're coming.
Nice.
Because it sounds awesome. And we're down the street. You guys are in our neck of the woods in Lakewood. So
fantastic.
We'll see you there too.
All right.
Again, be sure to check out Christy's work on her website, ChristyLynneSeving.com, and follow her on Instagram at Christy Lynne Seving. And don't forget to visit Next Gallery to see Christy's exhibit, A Matter of Perspective. It opens Friday, August 26th and runs through Sunday, the 11th of September. You can find all this info as usual in this week's episode notes. And for the Tenant Podcast, I'm Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
Have a great week.